Everyone, and thanks for joining us for today's episode of Canal Days. As always, I'm your host, Carrie, along with my co-host, founder of the Historical Tours of Greater Holyoke, Robert Como. Our Canal Days series dives into the vast collection of historical sites throughout Massachusetts, with Robert's expertise of the local history as our personal guide. Each episode, we uncover history throughout local communities, highlighting the historic landmarks and uncovering their seminal significance. Today's episode of Canal Days will be introducing and canvassing the Quaker Cemetery located in Pelham, Massachusetts. So, educate us on the Quaker Cemetery.
The Quaker religion is a religion that puts a high importance on the members being treated the same, and even in death, they want them to be treated the same. And thus, when they buried people, they buried them such that everyone would be with the same kind of gravestone. So we're going to learn about the Quaker Cemetery, when it was used, and what the cemetery looks like nowadays, and what the future is going to hold for them. But first of all, where are you going to find it? You're going to have to put some effort in. It's on Amherst Road in Pelham, near the juncture of Meeting House Road and Enfield Road. And it's just east of that juncture on Amherst Road. It was made in 1808, and all the stones look very similar. Now you have to park on the side of the road, climb up a bit of a hill, and then look for two ribbons off to the right of the trail. I would say after about 100 yards of walking. There's only one climb to get in, that's in the beginning, and then you're on level ground. If there's a juncture between two trails, take the one to your right, and you should find it off to your right. Now, what does it look like, right? Well, we're going to be covering that, but you can imagine what it looked like in the past was that the burials were with probably somewhat carved stones, but they were field stones with a little bit of carving, put upright in the ground. And this plot is about 99 feet by 99 feet. Maximum that can fit about 300 adults. It has been cleared out, and so thus you can see some of the stones in the ground, maybe about 20 of them. My guess is there's probably 200 of them there. If you go into this ground here and look to your left as you're facing the back, there'll be no more stones and no more imprints in the ground. Usually coffins collapse, and that allows for a depression in the ground. Go to your right, though, and you start to see these parallel depressions in the ground with a rise of earth in between, and then a depression. They're separated by about 4 feet, and they're all about 7 to 8 feet long with a couple feet in between. They are on an east-west axis, like a lot of Protestant groups had them. They had been cleared out by a historical group within Pelham. Their meeting house was only about a quarter mile away from the trail that you went up on. But that's gone now, except for one board, which is in the New Salem meeting house. And so that's the start of you getting used to this area. But peek off towards the right and you'll see many more depressions. Sure, you see the 20 in front of you, but I see depressions off to the side, maybe about 60 of them, including some in the far back. And hopefully someday some group can clean out this area and can find the rest of the headstones so that we have a look at what the Quaker Cemetery really looks like. And they deserve to have a respectful place for themselves.
And chronicle what years the cemetery was used.
Well, it was built in first in 1808, and it lasted about half a century or so. And so that's about 1808 to say about mid 1860s. And then the group went away. The group had come from a place in Rhode Island and settled here, and they had their meeting house and houses nearby, and of course the cemetery. The burials seem to have the stones in the correct position at the point where towards the west, because the head would be pointed towards the west after the Revolutionary War, and the feet pointed towards the east. So that is correct around this area. Now, it was made early on in the 1800s, and a lot of elaborate stones were being carved out of brownstone and some limestone. These stones seem to be limestone. They might have just found them and did a little bit of carving with no inscriptions. They're about the same size, about a foot high if you put them upright. And they're about 6 inches across and about 2 to 3 inches wide in most cases. Who is here? That's a great question. That's hard to find out. If you can find the Quaker records, that'd be a great help. I wish someone would take on that. It's a big project. But someday, I hope they put a better sign up. There is a little box towards the back put up by the group that fixed the place, and that box is on a tree. It looks like a birdhouse, but you open the top up, and there's a note inside. That note or letter has been reproduced on the internet, and I have a link to it from my website for the page for this cemetery.
And stick around, we'll be right back after this quick announcement. Are you fascinated by local history and eager to investigate the obscure treasures off the beaten path throughout the state of Massachusetts? Or maybe just seeking an unforgettable cultural activity for family and friends to enjoy? Look no further than Historical Tours of Greater Holyoke, founded by Robert Comeau. With over a decade of experience, Robert offers captivating tours and presentations of historic sites and landmarks throughout the state. Whether you're interested in canals, cemeteries, charming churches, or more, Robert's tours provide a unique and enriching experience for all. And that's not it. You can also schedule private tours tailored to your interests, ensuring a personalized adventure and unforgettable memories. Perfect for families or groups of all sizes, making for an exciting hands-on learning experience that brings history to life. Simply visit holyokecanaltour.org or email bobcat4214, capital B, @yahoo.com to book your private tour today. But wait, there's more. Don't miss out on Robert's podcast and video series, Canal Days, where you can dive even deeper into the vital history of the Connecticut River Valley. So getting back to our episode on the Quaker Cemetery in Pelham, Massachusetts, describe what the cemetery looks like today.
It looks, well, the soil is rather moist. It's on a slight depression, so you go uphill in a flat trail, and then you go down very slightly. And for that reason, the ground traps a lot of moisture in the area. And it's been cleared out for, I would say, an area about 25 feet wide, and I would say about 65 feet long. So about 1/3 of it has been cleared out, and you can see some of the burials. Some of the burials towards east, you can still see the depressions in the ground, as you should for very old burials. These are 200 years old burials. And also, if you just go in a bit to the right, get over a few logs, and you'll see that there's more depressions. Everything is a bit moist, which is okay. And it's a very unique look because you're about 100 yards to 120 yards away from a highway. And you start to wonder, why did they put it up there? Well, the Arnold burial ground is about 300 yards more along the same trail into the woods. And they might have been able to buy some of the farmers' field and have a burial site because there's already a burial site out there. Now, what should it look like? What should this area take on? That's our next question.
And predict what the future holds for the Quaker Cemetery.
It should be cleared out more, so some of the trees should be cleared out. It probably was taken care of very well up till late 1800s, and then trees started to grow into the area, so you get 120-year-old trees in there. So some have grown quite big, but they should be taken down. Brush should be hauled out, old logs should be hauled out, and you should dig into the slightly dampened soil and moss and try to find the other, I would think, 150 more stones. There's probably quite a few stones there. Well, look at the math. The group probably stayed around Pelham for about 70 years. And the group was probably 200 large. And in that 200 years, in that 70 years, you might have most of the original 200 die, plus a lot of children along the way, plus some early deaths in the next generation. So, sure, some might have outlived the air, sure, but I would think there's 200 barrels in there. And yet, we've only seen in this area 20 or 30 barrels uncovered. So I wish someone would have a massive project, both in terms of academic study into who's in the earth. And there is a book written about the lives of the Quakers in Pelham, and that's found at the Pelham Library History Room. But more should be put into the cemetery itself, and more should be put into also the grounds to clear them up, make sure that people know where they are, should have a nice sign out in front. And Pelham does maintain it on a town-wide basis, so the pit-in is always clear, and the trail is always clear to these two cemeteries. So I hope more gets done.
And thank you for joining us for our episode on the Quaker Cemetery in Pelham, Massachusetts, and on our journey through the rich history of the Connecticut River Valley. We hope you enjoyed uncovering some of the hidden and overlooked marvels and their fascinating stories that shaped our past in the state of Massachusetts. A special thanks to Robert Camus, founder of Historical Tours of Greater Holyoke, for sharing his passion and expertise with us. Remember, you can find more information about Robert's tours, book private tours, and explore the Canal Days video and podcast series at holyokecanaltour.org. If you enjoyed today's episode, please like, comment, and share. We'd love to hear your thoughts and suggestions for future episodes. And thanks for listening, and don't forget to tune to our next episode of Canal Days. Until next time.